Hi everyone, we are discussing the subject of signals and systems. Signals and systems. In this chapter and this subject, we are discussing in different forms of signals and systems. What is signal? What are the types of signals? How the signal is converted in different forms. So these are all we are discussing in this topic. First, what is signal? A signal is a function of one or more variables that conveys information about some phenomenon. That means any information source which has contains some individual variables to form a group and that will convey a message. So signal means information. A signal is a function. A signal is a function of one or more variables that conveys information about some phenomenon. For a function of f, in the expression f of t1, t2 up to t of n, and each of t of k is called an independent variables, while the function value itself is referred to as a dependent variables. F of t1, t2, t of n are the independent variables and t of k are the dependent variables. That means the signal has contained several elements like t1 interval, t1 interval, t2 interval, t3 up to t of n. Some examples of signals including like a voltage or current in an electronic circuit, the position, velocity or acceleration of an object, a force or torque in a mechanical system, a flow rate of liquid or gas in a chemical process, a digital image, digital videos or digital audio, a, a stock market index. These are all the different examples of signals. Next one is classifications of signals. Next one is classifications of signals. Number of independent variables. Continuous or discrete independent variables. Continuous or discrete dependent variables. These are the three types of signals. Number of independent variables, continuous or discrete independent variables, continuous or discrete dependent variables. These are the three types of signals which are used in signal communications or data communications. Number of independent variables. In this, a signal with one independent variable is said to be one dimensional audio. One independent variable is said to be one dimensional. That means single discrete signal. Next, continuous or discrete variables. Sorry. A signal with more than one independent variables is said to be multiple dimensional. First heading, a signal with one variable information, that is called one dimensional signal. A signal have contains more variables, that is called multi-dimensional signals. Next, continuous or discrete independent variables. A signal with continuous independent variables is said to be continuous time CT voltage waveform. It is the example of voltage waveform. A signal with continuous independent variables is said to be continuous time CT. That means those signals have contains including several elements. That type of signals is known as continuous time signals CT, continuous time signals. A signal with discrete independent variables is said to be discrete time signals, that is called DT, stock market index. Stock market index. Next one is continuous or discrete independent variables. In this, a signal with a continuous independent variables is said to be continuous valued. For example, voltage waveform, continuous valued. A signal with a discrete independent variables is said to be discrete valued. Discrete valued. That means we are seeing the below diagram. We can easily understanding the process of continuous signal and discrete signal. A continuous valued signal is said to be analog. A discrete valued signal is said to be digital. What is analog and what is digital? So we are see the graphical representation of signals. Graphical representation of signals. For example, first signal is a continuous time signal CT, continuous time signal, and it is a form of analog which has contains positives and negatives. That's why it is called analog signal. Analog signal which has contains positives and negatives. But in digital signals which has contains zeros and ones. That means in digital signals is in the states of either 1 or 0. That means it is like a binary data information. That's why it is called as binary data information, which is indicates either 0 or 1. So in this first diagram, continuous time signal, and second one is discrete time. What is discrete? Discrete means a continuous time signal will be splitted or divided or separated to the equal intervals. Discrete time signal main working function is it is splitted, divided or separated continuous time signals to the equal intervals. It is also known as quantization. Quantization. In the process of quantization, a discrete signal is splitted into several individual pulses. Or by using sampling or sampler. A continuous analog signal will be splitted or divided to the discrete signal. So that is the major difference between continuous time signals and discrete time signals. A continuous time signal which has physical phenomena is like a positives and negatives, but in discrete time signals which has separated the signals in the equal intervals, and then after the signal is formed like a digital signal which has contains zeros and ones. This is the fundamental structure of system. This is the fundamental structure of any system. For example, any system which has contained some inputs and some outputs. some inputs and some outputs. A system is an entity that process one or more input signals in order to produce one or more output signals. Simple meaning: a system is an entity. Entity means when we are applying devices, applying nodes or inputs. Entity means inputs. A system is an entity that processes one or more input signals in order to produce one or more outputs. When we are applying input side 4 inputs and output side we are also getting 4 outputs. For example, in this system x0, x1, x2 up to x of n, and then output side we are also getting y0, y1, y2 up to y of n. That means the number of input side we are applying number of signals, and then also output side we are also getting number of outputs. For example, input side I am applying 100 signals, and output side we are also getting 100 signals. So it is a simple meaning and most important meaning. A system is an entity that processes one or more input signals in order to produce one or more output signals. Next one is classification of systems. Classification of systems. Number of inputs, number of outputs, type of signals. Once again we are see the system. In the system block diagram we are seeing number of inputs and a number of outputs, and which type of signals will be entering to the system and which type of signals will be sending to the system. So these process is also known as classification of systems. Classifications of system means how many inputs are entering to the system and how many outputs are entering to the system and what type of signals will be entering to the system. For example, number of inputs. A system with one input is said to be single input SI. Single input SI. A system with more than one input is said to be multi-input MI. Single input means SI, more than one means multi-input MI. Number of outputs. A system with one output is said to be single output. That's why SO. This was the reverse operation of inputs. A system with more than one outputs is said to be multiple out. MO. Types of signal processed. A system can be classified in terms of the types of signals that is processed continuously. Terms such as following also be used to describe system: one dimensional and multidimensional, continuous time and discrete time, CT and DT, and analog and digital signals. For example, a continuous time system processed continuous signals and discrete time signals processed discrete system will be processed. That means when I am applying analog signals from the input side and output side, I am also getting output signal, analog signals. For example, input side I am applying digital signals, and then output side also I am getting digital signal. That means the physical phenomena will be depends on the system which will process or propagates inputs and output signals. So this is the brief introduction of signal systems. What is signal and what are the types of signals and what is the basic information of system. And next class we are discussing Signal processing system. Next class we are discussing signal processing system. Thank you.